Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another edition of hashtag askrobco. Super excited for our very special guest, Andy Gwynn, LinkedIn specialist, property specialist, life specialist. He is going to be sharing everything with us today. Welcome to the show, Andy. Thanks for joining.
Hey, you are welcome, Rob. I've been looking forward to this because I love what you do, and well, what a great end to the week for a lot of us, I guess.
Absolutely. For all of you joining live, thank you for joining. You know the format. You ask the questions on the right-hand side, and we will give you the answers. How we always work on the Friday: feel-good factor, positivity, good vibe. Andy is going to tell us his journey, his life, his story, where's he from, what's he done, what's he doing now, what is his impacts on the world, and he's going to leave you with a positive vibe for the weekend. So Andy, welcome to the show. Super happy to have you here. Seen a lot of you, about you, very motivating. So let's be super motivating today on this Friday. The sun is out, the sky is blue-ish where we are. Tell us your journey, your story, your life, your trials, your tribulations. The platform is yours for the next 10 minutes. The questions will then come through and we will go from there. So away you go, Andy.
Thank you, Rob, and thanks for telling me it's 10 minutes because I could probably, we love talking about ourselves. I could probably do it for days because it's a little bit cloudy and overcast. I'm pointing out there to the window where I'm looking down the mountain to the sea from our house in Spain. And I say that because it's been a long journey for me to really achieve what I wanted to achieve. And one of my great mates said, you should share this with people because it's inspirational. What, the whole journey? Interesting. I don't know where I got the attitude of anything's possible. I think I got that from my mom. And what is it? Always play the glad game. And it is a mindset thing. And I left school at 16. My father's a doctor, retired, very eminent, very academic. I struggled with academia. I did a term at college, didn't go to university, knew I wanted to make some money, went and got a job in a warehouse, moved into purchasing, into sales, into management, studied management at the Open University, but 18 years ago, left work and set up my own business as a business coach with a phenomenal guy called Brad Sugars, who's an Australian entrepreneur based in Las Vegas now. Phenomenal guy who pioneered business coaching. I thought I knew sales and business, taught me about that, taught me how to coach business owners to grow, buy, build and sell businesses. And the interesting thing for me that I'm passionate about coaching is I studied performance coaching at the Open University because I always struggled with being told what to do. And you can tell people what to do, but actually if you coach them for them to take ownership, they're more empowered, they're more likely to take action.
Wait, I just want to understand what that means, okay? So I struggle being told what to do, okay? And I'm fully aware of it, relatively comfortable with it. So if you struggled with it, what was your problem with it and what did you do? Let's just explain that so I understand it and the audience understands it.
I think it's human nature is that if you're told something to do, you'll argue against it at whatever level. I don't have time, I'm not comfortable with it, and you'll react. Whereas if you're coached, if you're asked the question, here's the psychology that I believe. Statements tell, questions sell. If I ask you a question and you answer, it's true for you. When people say something, it's true to them. So here's a great example. When I first started my business, I made a lot of money and I showed my mom, my parents, how much I'd made in a month. And my mom went, that's a lot of money. And I said, no, it isn't. I've got colleagues around the world that are entrepreneurs making a lot more, 10 times the amount. And I just watched her eyes glaze over and it went over her head. The next time she said that, I said, compared to what? And she went, well, compared to what your dad used to make when he was a doctor and a colonel in the army. And I said, yes. I said, compared to Richard Branson. She went, I guess it's not a lot of money. So people go, when they say something, it's true. So if I tell you, you've got to pick up the phone and make sales calls, or you could make more sales calls than you have done. If people think they're doing the best they can, they're likely to say, I can't do any more. I had a sales rep say, I'm doing the best I can. Whereas if I said, how many calls have you done? How much break have you had? how focused were your calls? Could you have possibly got your calls down more focused? Yes, I could. So do you think you could do more calls in a day? Yes, I do. How many? Well, I could do this. They've committed to it. They've said it. So for me, it was about coaching people rather than telling people what to do. Secondly, there's a lot of stuff in here. I can show you how to write a sales script to pick up the phone and sell to people. But if you have a fear of rejection, you're never even going to pick up the phone and use that skill set. So I do believe our skills are dictated by our beliefs. And so that's what I mean about where I believe coaching is. It's about empowering people. If you make the decision to do something, then you're more likely to do it. Yes, you might need accountability and stuff. So I started my business coaching business owners, and my background was sales and marketing. I've always been interested in making money. I learned how to invest in property, had a great mentor. I also coached him in his business. He's in the UK, owns one of the biggest property investor training businesses. And I've always struggled with naysayers, people who say, no, can't be done, because there's always a way. And then I niched into LinkedIn, and again, people have a lot of perceptions around it. I've been teaching property investors, business owners. I've just been booked for the second time to speak to my own boarding school, at my old boarding school at the sixth form, to talk to them about how to use LinkedIn to find a job or to market themselves. LinkedIn is just so powerful to be able to get to people that I've spent 10 years teaching people how to do that. And so I guess that's a quick 10 minutes, but I'm still passionate. LinkedIn is the vehicle to achieve more results. I do absolutely believe we're all capable of achieving more than we give ourselves credit for. Why is it that two people can study the same thing? One person gets phenomenal results, another doesn't. And it's all in here. It's all attitude. I remember getting invited to speak at a school assembly about attitude. And the analogy I used is, you can both be as good at football as each other. Who gets chosen to be captain? One with the best attitude. And it doesn't matter what you choose to do in life, whether you go into business, whether you go into academia, it's about the attitude, and that really is in here. I call this your neck top computer. It's the most powerful computer in the world. I've walked hot coals barefoot. I've been privileged to study with Tony Robbins and take 10,000 people across hot coals in less than 30 minutes. I've had people on radio stations, psychologists, argue you cannot do it. It's a scam. So that's what I'm passionate about, really.
Okay, Andy, I mean, I do love your work and your story. And one of your, I suppose, slogans or pitches or beliefs is doing sales in a non-salesy way. So tell us what that means and where that comes from.
Great question. Where does it come from? I hear so many people saying they're not a salesperson. I believe that everything we do is sales. Here's my definition of sales. It is professionally helping people to buy. If you have a concept, a product, or a service that you know will benefit someone, it might save them money, time, whatever. If you're trying to sell the concept to your kid to do their homework, or your wife to have Chinese instead of Indian, you're trying to influence a decision. Now, it might be because you want the decision, but in business, we believe we've got a product or a service that will help somebody. So my role is just to professionally help that person to buy it. And yet I hear so many people say, I'm not a salesperson. And I got asked by somebody the other day, what would I do? In fact, yesterday, it was a phenomenal guy. He's 16. He's investing in property, and he had to go because he's got a school lesson. And at the end of the call, he said to me, what would you do again what would you do differently if you had to start your life over again, or your career? And I heard a great answer to that by an entrepreneur that said, I would learn to fail faster, because we all fail at stuff. But actually what I said to him is, I would learn to market and sell quicker than I've learned now. And I'd learn to communicate and with people. I'd learn communication, whether that's negotiation. People go to me, I'm not a salesperson. And I go, well, are you married? They go, yes. I go, great sales job. One of you's made a sales job. There's too much limiting belief. And where does it come from? Because we're brought up with terrible inductions around smarmy salespeople, pushy salespeople, second-hand car salespeople. In probably a generation ago, when somebody knocked on the door, we got a thing about money. As a little baby, we'd be held in our arms by our mom behind the settee going, shush, it's the rent man coming to collect money. We've grown up and indoctrinated by this, don't be salesy and don't be pushy. Now, the reality of that is if your whole belief is I don't want to be a pushy salesperson, guess what's likely not to happen? You're probably not going to ask for the sale towards the end. And the biggest challenge for some salespeople is they don't ask for the sale. So I run a webinar on how to get more exposure in sales on LinkedIn, and I've called it How to Raise Your Profile Without Being Pushy or Salesy, only because I hear every week that that's what people are scared of, so it grabs their attention. And the reality is you've got to learn to sell. You've got to learn whether you're going to sell a curry against Chinese in an evening, or whether you want to sell the concept of marry me, or whether you want to sell the concept to give me a job or invest money with me or buy my product. It's the oldest profession in the world is sales.
So Andy, illustrious career, long journey, but maybe share with us some of the tipping points or where you first understood what you're saying now with so much clarity. When did it click, sink in, and make sense?
I think rather than clicking in, I remember a coach of mine saying your business or your life is a journey, not a destination. And I understand behavioral styles. There's various different profiling tools, and I understand my behavior and my style. And I went, I don't want the journey, I want the destination, I want the result. But it has been a bunch of, you said, where does it click? Clicking points. I think once I started working in industry, in a warehouse, as a van driver, as a salesman, as a branch manager, and I knew I loved business, and I knew I wanted to be in business. I wanted to go into business for myself, but I didn't know in what, because I wasn't going into competition. I didn't want to start all over again in my mind. And I studied performance coaching to help my sales teams, and then I came across this opportunity to become a business coach and set up on my own. So that was a distinction. That was a turning point. But I've also realized that I've got a lot of resilience, and that I tell you the clicking point for that. In 1995, as a scuba diving instructor, because I used to run my own scuba diving school in the Midlands in the UK, furthest from the sea you can get, I went to Central America with a youth development charity called Rally International. And I lived on a deserted island for 9 weeks, and I was in the jungle for weeks, and in Central America for 4 months. And it was tough. You were getting bitten by mosquitoes, scratched and sweat. Oh, you were perpetually soaked. And I realized that I'd got determination. I'd got adaptability was the word I came up with. I could adapt to different situations if I wanted to. And that's what sort of made me realize that you can do anything you achieve to if you're enough. And also, I believe I nearly went bust a few times in my business, and we've had it tough. And I know I'd got this fear of failure and losing money. I didn't want to lose money. I didn't want to go bust. Where did that come from? I don't know. It doesn't really matter as long as you recognize what your issue is or what you're resisting. And I knew that I believed in being in business for myself, and whether it's property, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's coaching, whether it's marketing, and I just kept going. But you've got to keep adapting. You've got to learn to fail faster and adjust. And so those are some of the key learnings that I've had, that I've stuck with.
We get loads of property people following us, watching us for obvious reasons. It's my core industry. Talk us through your property journey, maybe what you love about it, what you've learned from it, and some guidance for some people.
Okay. I loved Monopoly as a kid. I think I've always loved
Monopoly.
I love Monopoly. I haven't played it for a while. I had a coaching client once who was very competitive, and it was causing a rift between him and his salespeople. And I said, "You're too competitive. You've got to manage people. Go play Monopoly with your kids at home and lose." And
which street or road did you like the most? Did you?
That's a great question. I think the orange ones and the green ones, and because were they middle of the road. Challenge with Mayfair and Park Lane. Great return, but the odds of someone landing on them is less. So a corner, I don't know.
No, I think I very much yellow, green, and reds were the good ones, and I think orange was a good starting point to build off. And I like yellow, Oxford Street and Leicester Square. I think I always did well. Fleet Street.
Do you know, I have again, I got taught by Brad Sugars, the way we do anything is the way we do everything. The way we play Monopoly is probably the way we invest. So maybe you, like me, I was definitely those oranges and not so much, maybe the yellows, but the purples and oranges. Why? Because it was easy to start with. and it was middle of the road money coming in, and a good chance if you got the strip they land on you. Whereas if you went for Old Kent Road, there's only 2 of them, but the money's terrible. So what I want is a balance of being able to let property out easily. It doesn't have to be £1 million properties. It can be middle of the road properties that's giving me good income, and that's my investment style on property. So how did I start out? My dad retired in 2000. As a doctor, he went out to New Zealand for a year, got a job out there, treated Jonah Lumo, the ex-New Zealand rugby player. Never had a guy bend over both sides of his bench. But my mum didn't want the house empty, didn't want a stranger in it. I said, I'll house sit. And while you're there, I'll let my house out that I live in. I was a 40 grand a year sales manager. A year later, when they came back, I went, that's pretty cool. I've had £433 a month coming in on top of my salary. Didn't know I'd got to pay tax back then. Sorted it all out since then. And I thought, I'll buy somewhere else to live in and I'll keep it rented. I could not have invested in starting my business up without that first house, because I refinanced it. And that's what allowed me to set up my business with the money I needed. And then I met a great guy called Simon Zucchi, who you may know, runs.
Yeah, he's been on the show. Great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a personal friend of mine. I coached him in his business when he had one network meeting. When he set up his flagship mastermind program in 2007, I went through it with him and helped him develop it. I speak at every one of their events, and I thought I knew about property, and I learned more in a few months with him than I'd learned. And so that's how I got into it. And I realized I like making money. I like the deal. Yes, we've got to deliver. What were some of the learnings you said? I had a couple of clients who were going to get repossessed in 07, 08, and one of them just crashed and burnt. And one of the others, I said to him, how do you feel? And he said, look, I'm going to get repossessed. He said, but I know how to invest. I know how to buy and sell properties and invest in property. Nobody can take that knowledge away from me. If I lose it all because I got it wrong, I can start again and succeed. And I go goose pimply because I said, you'll be fine, Dave. And he is. And that's that mindset again, knowledge. Brad Sugar's taught me you've got to learn to earn. So is it a simple model? I've had this conversation today. Property investing can be simple. It's a simple model, but it's not without effort. And the key thing, again, I said this to a guy today, you've got to learn human behavior and communication. You've got to learn how to negotiate, how to manage joint venture partnerships, how to manage your lawyer, how to manage your vendor. It's all about sales. It's all about communication and behavior. And that's where a lot of people get burned. Rule number one is be totally open and honest with yourself and understand yourself. People have an ego, shiny penny syndrome, procrastination syndrome, whatever it is that either gets them burnt or stops them. If you can work around that, that's your personal development. Second one is get better at working with other people. Because I've made some mistakes, but I also haven't done a lot with property over the last few years. But what I know is, and we just said this in this last few days, I'm looking for a place to buy as a multi-let in the UK where we can have the top floor, rent everything else out, so we live for free for the 2 months a year that we fly back from Spain. And there's so much opportunity and entrepreneurship. And the other big piece of advice is don't listen to naysayers. The moment you read a book, Rob Kiyosaki or Zucchi's book, the moment you learn something, you are a wizard. You said you wanted to talk about the beard. You are a wizard at Hogwarts. I had a conversation with my niece, who's a policewoman in London, for an hour. And we talked about financing with other people's money, buying cheap below market value, HMOs and stuff, PLOs. And at the end of it, I said, how are you feeling? She said, my brain is fried. I said, welcome to Hogwarts. You've had an hour at the table. I may not be at the top table with Rob or Zucchi or Kiyosaki, but I'm in the Hogwarts dining room. I said, and you've had an hour. Now your challenge is you cannot go back to the police station, it's full of muggles, and tell them what you know, because they'll think you're full of it, that I'm a con, that it's a crook, and you will fry their brains because muggles don't know wizards exist. And she got it. And that's the thing, you can learn a lot very quickly in property. And there's no rules, but the challenge is for people out there, if people don't understand stuff, they'll fight it, they'll argue it because they're scared of it. So if you're getting into property, you've got to network with people who understand you. I don't talk to my father about property because he doesn't get it. And yet he's a wizard. He's a medical wizard. He's a diabetic wizard. He's an allergy wizard. He's an asthma wizard. He's retired. He's a rugby wizard, but he's not a property wizard. So
let's talk about LinkedIn and the platforms. You're a LinkedIn specialist, guru, whatever you want to call it. What are your thoughts for the next 5 years on LinkedIn? And maybe some of the competitors. Let's go Instagram, and a new one that we're just starting out on, Clubhouse. Probably going to move the show over to that platform. So talk to me about all three of those if you can.
Okay, great question. Where do I think LinkedIn's at? Okay, LinkedIn, I believe, is a leviathan. It's huge, it's morphed. They contradict themselves. So my rule as a business coach about keeping an open mind is, it is what it is, work within it, make it serve you. I actually use some automation, which they don't like, but they don't like you giving your access to your profile to your wife. We've also built something that allows us to tap into the algorithm and get massive views of your posts. It is unique. Now, will they change? And they're doing some stuff right now. This, as we speak, in the last week or so, they're changing stuff. They're limiting some people to connection invites. So it's never going to be forever in the way it is. I can't see it disappearing. It's got, it's gone from 600 to 700 million profiles since COVID, and I thought we were at saturation point. So it's there, and it's about how you use it, and it's an online networking tool, and I think it's powerful. I think the challenge we've got now is there's so much marketing activities. When I set my coaching business up, there was no social media, but I could sit down with you with a list of 83 lead generation strategies: direct mail, websites, telemarketing, salespeople, yada, yada, yada. Now double it, because like you said, oh, we're starting on Clubhouse, it's new. I do a weekly Clubhouse call that a mate of mine has set up, and I'm on his panel list. That's all I'm doing. I had somebody look to interview me and said, can I interview you on Instagram? I said, you can. Show me how to get on Instagram. He said, oh, you need to be on TikTok. I said, you got no chance. I think there's so much choice in business. You've got to decide what serves me. Yes, I need multiple marketing activities, but you can't do them all. So if you're going, well, I'm going to focus on Clubhouse. Clubhouse has taken off. I don't know where that will go. It'll be interesting to see as it becomes more of the norm. I think it's different, isn't it? It's different than video, and you can do it in the car and you can be on the phone. I sort of get that. And I think if you're looking for knowledge to join a room where people are chatting, I think it's powerful. What was the other one you asked me? Was it Instagram?
Instagram.
I don't use it. I'm on it. As I say, I got interviewed on an Instagram live. And again, I've got friends, clients, and people that are getting business from Instagram. They all work. This is back to being open-minded. I struggle with naysayers. I struggle when people say, oh, it doesn't work. In the old days, there's a global networking group called BNI. I've got business through that in the past, and I hear people go, BNI doesn't work. And I say, have you had a one-to-one with everyone in that room in the last few months? No. So BNI works because I've got business from it. You just haven't made it work. So I think they all work. It's about understanding how to make them work, and is that the best route? I think there's definitely, LinkedIn is stronger for business to business. Facebook is good for business to consumer. I know business to businesses that get business from it. I'm hearing people saying we're struggling with Facebook ads now. Facebook are all over the place. We're shifting to YouTube ads. Nothing's forever, is it? So it is about finding what's the best strategy to suit you and your outcomes. But I think Clubhouse is powerful. There's lots of people on it. LinkedIn, for me, I can find and get to anybody in the world. There is a massive surge of people getting bombarded with connection invites and crappy messages, pushy sales messages, and poor content. And so more than ever now, you have to learn about how to engage professionally, how to write great content, not good, how to engage so it isn't bombarding people with pushy salesy messages. And for me, that's easy to do. That's my niche, and that's where I work with people. So
brilliant. Love that. And we're going to be moving on to Clubhouse and podcasting, pretty much similar to this kind of flow. Special offer for anyone watching live and for anyone that watches in the other platforms and YouTube afterwards. First 3 direct messages to me will get an invite to Clubhouse when we move over. So DM me directly on that. So Andy, how we normally end on a Friday is that we really want to send everyone home in a positive place with a good message. And we want to hear what you want your impact to be in the world. And at the same time, if you're not at home because you're in lockdown, and if you are at home, you are in lockdown, we want everyone, and if just one person changes their life or outlook because of something that you're about to say, then we've done our job as human beings, and it was well worth 30 minutes that Andy and Rob spent together on a hashtag askrobco on a Friday afternoon. So Andy, what have you got for us?
Okay, what have I got? Where did you start? You started with the question quickly. I think so anything's possible. That's not where I was coming from. You will achieve plus or minus 10% of your environment. So focus on who you're networking with, who you're with. If you want to build £1 million portfolio, you should be speaking to people with £1 million portfolio. And one of the things I came up with, people say in marketing and business, they go, what's your purpose? And for a long time it was, I want to be financially free, I want to travel. And then I realized I have so much content, so much experience, and I've been told that I realized I want to share my shit. Can I say that? And then I went, hang on a minute, I've probably got some bad shit and I don't want to share that. So I want to share my good stuff. And so I've got, connect with me on LinkedIn, look me up on Facebook. There's some free Facebook groups. I always say, I don't care what you think about me. And lots of people have lots of different impressions of me because this is lockdown here. 4 years ago, I didn't have that. I don't care what you think about me. I care about what you go away and do. So reach out and I'll always respond. Again, don't listen to naysayers. Decide what you want to achieve and then work out how do I get there, because anything is possible. Human beings are just incredible. Sir Tom passed away recently. That guy brings me to tears, you know, and he was 100 years old. So you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. You just need the right people around you and the right focus. Brilliant.
Last message for the Friday, Andy. Where can people get hold of you? Where can people follow you? And what impact do you want to have on the world?
Okay, you can find me on LinkedIn. There is only one Andy Gwynn looks like this. There are a few others. I've connected with them, with Gwynn spelt this way. With an E on the end is the common way, according to my father. I am half Welsh. Now, what I've just discovered, Rob, is a great link, and it's called Linktree, and it's spelled linktr.ee, and then / my name. I've got a bunch of links there. It lists them all. If you look up LinkedIn Mastery on the Facebook group, you can find me in there. Look at some of my YouTube videos on how to use LinkedIn. It's aimed at property investors, but it's relevant to anybody. What's the impact I want to have on the world? We have created the Post Party Club. Some people go, oh, it's a pod, there's naysayers. It is unique because we've got a Facebook group. We're teaching people how to write great content, which serves you in anything, whether it's your emails, your business, whether it's your girlfriends, your wives, your kids. It's all about writing, creating content, communicating. And we happen to have spent a lot of money developing a portal that allows you to get thousands of views on your LinkedIn posts instantly. I want 1,000 members around the world. I've got colleagues in the US and Australia, and we're working this together. Why? Because I can help people get more business by having them in that group and giving them my good stuff. That's the impact I want, because it isn't about LinkedIn. It's about learning how to communicate, sell, market, get better results. You know, the stuff in there will serve you to get a better job or more business. That's what I want to do, is share my 18 years of great stuff. And I can do that through, look up postpartyclub.com. There you go.
Andy, love that. I love your positivity. I love your journey. Love your attitude. I hope everyone is getting more and more positive. 1, because of Andy, 2, because of the show, and 3, because slowly but surely we are coming out of COVID and lockdown, and soon we'll be back doing what we all do best and living our lives. We will be moving everything over to Clubhouse. Keep following us on all of the platforms. Keep supporting. I'm super grateful for everything that you do, all of your words of wisdom. One of the biggest messages this week was, Rob, I got my dream job. Thank you for your messages, your videos, your support. And because of you, my life is going to change. And that is what we aim to do on this show and throughout all the platforms and throughout all of our socials. We're here just to help, support, and give back. And I'm super grateful and super happy for that. So have a great weekend, everyone. Keep supporting, follow Andy, live with his positivity and great energy. and we will see you the same time next week, but we will be on Clubhouse. Everyone take care. Thanks, Andy. You've been great. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
Likewise. Thanks, Rob. Take care.
Thank you.